Hey guys, what's up? It's Dudes in Film. I am Matt,
And I'm Trevor.
and like we said, we're Dudes in Film.
Yeah, we're the Dude to Film podcast where we talk about films and stuff like that.
And we're dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty much the
today,
gist of it.
so we're just gonna jump into the nitty gritty.
Oh yeah.
Today we're gonna be talking about indie films. Indie films are basically a movie that, for anybody who doesn't know, indie films are basically movies that they don't have some big production company name behind it, and it's funded independently. So, Fox,
Paramount.
yeah, Paramount Pictures, 21st Century. Those movies are all big budget movies, whereas an independent film it might have a company name to it, but it's not. It's basically not a big budget film. You're not going to see. Typically, they don't have big names in them either. So
Right. Yeah, and if you think about it, Star Wars, A New Hope was going to be an indie film
hmm
before George Lucas really wanted to make it an indie film, but he didn't necessarily have all the money for it. So
yeah,
his last resort was to kind of sell it to Fox, 20th Century Fox, and say, "Hey, I need some more money. Help me out." Um, so yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it here. Trevor, why don't
well,
you go ahead and
I mean, even in Star Wars alone, like the first movie, like New Hope, was only in like what 30 something theaters across America when it came out. Like
mm-hmm.
it wasn't even a huge movie on top of that when it came out. It was kind of an indie film in a way. Like it was backed by a company after a while, but it was only in like 30 something theaters, and then from there it became a big hit, and people went to go see Empire Strikes Back when it came out. Like my dad was telling me that like a bunch of people when the movies came out, my dad said that a lot of people didn't even get a chance to see A New Hope in theaters because they didn't really play in theaters in the first place. So,
Correct. Yes.
uh, so it's kind
And
of a
and look where it
weird,
is now. Look where it
yeah,
is now.
and look how washed up and huge it's gotten since then,
No kidding.
from playing in like 30 something theaters.
To more like 30 million theaters all
Yeah,
over the world.
exactly.
Yes, Star Wars. We all love Star Wars here at Dudes in
hmm
Film. Star Wars is
And
amazing.
indie films really like they've always been around, I guess, like they always have been. Um, but they kind of started picking up in the 80s.
Yep.
It's when you've seen more indie films when there was more accessibility to video cameras to the public and that kind of thing. And as the production of them basically became cheaper because cameras were really expensive when they came out, and then basically as new models come out, other models get cheaper. More people are able to buy them and get their hands on them, and
Yep. Correct.
now people have them in houses, and special effects and stuff in the 80s was really big too because people were basically using toys, like Star Wars again, like he's using toys to mimic the ships and make movements.
Right.
And so
Models. Models.
yeah, so
Yeah.
people were making models and that kind of stuff to make movies look great in the 80s. And they've always been carrying on ever since. I mean, now we have indie films with the quality production of a Hollywood film, but kind of
Still
a step
not.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they have the animation and that digital side of stuff, but like they don't have like a $3 million room that's just a green screen, so they can just fill everything up with just whatever they want. They still got to use nature and
Yeah.
real.
Correct.
Typically,
Practical effects.
yeah.
Practical effects.
Typically, that's the case. There are some
Yes.
indie films with some big budgets sometimes, but
Yep. And
normally it's the
believe
case.
it or not, uh, Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest writers and directors of all
Yeah.
time, started by making his own indie films, like at home, like with his
hmm
little Super 8 camera. You've probably heard me talk about that a thousand
Yeah.
times.
Well, I mean, you got everybody's got to start somewhere. But
Right.
it's like most actors. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's those actors that stumbled upon it and just got lucky and got a role. But it's like a lot of actors have gone through like some sort of acting training or went to school or were in theater in high school and got into movies. So a lot of them have started somewhere. When it comes to that, or even like these music producers and stuff like that. Like
Right.
there's
Hmm.
always your people that get lucky, but for the most part, a lot of people have a background in something that they chase and they really just push hard for what they want to do.
Correct. Yes, and even me, that's kind of what I'm doing. If you guys don't know, I'm kind of making my own indie film. We'll be filming it later this year. Be
Right?
on the
Yeah.
lookout for it. Trevor's gonna work on it with me. We're both working on it together late August.
Yep.
We're gonna be filming it. It's gonna be super great.
Do you have a name
That's
for it yet?
Yes, I have a name for it. I'll be posting it on my Instagram, but I'll just say it right
Okay.
now. The film name is going to be titled Options.
Okay.
It'll be called
Nice.
Options.
Yeah, I'm excited to help out with that. I've helped out with a couple movies before.
Yep.
Never anything like full term though. Like I've always been like an extra in a movie, or I helped out with something like lighting or something like that. And of course, indie films. I've never worked on anything big. Uh, the only thing I was like a part of was Batman versus Superman when that was in Detroit.
Yep.
But you don't even see me on camera, so I don't even count it.
Right. Are you in the credits at least?
I'm not. No, I'm not in the credit. I was just an extra, and
Uh-huh.
basically there's like several scenes in that movie where they just need people in the background. But like the part I'm in, I don't even know what part I'm in anymore because I didn't even watch the movie.
Have you
But,
seen
like,
it since? Like, have you watched it at least?
No, I
Once?
haven't seen it since. But
Okay.
I remember like watching the part like I was supposed to be in, and I was like, I'm not even there. So they must have just cut that part out completely.
Right.
And did it. So
Gotcha. Well, that being said, Batman vs Superman, while it does get a lot of hate, I semi enjoyed it. Now, I hated it when it first came out in theaters because the plot was like not there. Like there was no motivation. The characters just
the plot
went
line,
like
yeah.
there is like no motivation for the characters. They don't want something or
Right.
need anything. They just do the thing they
Yeah.
do.
Was why like Batman and Superman stopped fighting.
Right.
It's like
Martha.
he's like Martha. He's like, how do you know that name? And then they're just like best friends after that. And I'm like,
Right, that made
okay.
no sense. I was
I don't know. The movie was just I don't know. I don't think it was very good, well written, but it's okay. It was basically like two movies shoved into one movie, in my
Exactly.
opinion.
Now,
So, I think
it's
it
a
should have
fun
just
movie.
been.
Yeah, I still
It
think
is-
that
it
it's
is
like a
fun.
fun
Like-
movie to watch.
Well, it's the thing is like the action's fun in it. It's like when you go see a Marvel movie, you know the action in a movie is going to be good, but
Yeah.
that's almost a given. You're just like, yeah, you have like millions of dollar budget. Your action better be top notch when going to see a superhero movie.
Correct.
I expect good action scenes. I don't always expect good story and plot line though. That's completely different.
Right. Yeah, and they didn't deliver on either of those. Well, no, they delivered on cool action. I think that
There's cool action.
the fight
There's-
scene
there's
between
cool action,
Batman
yeah.
and Superman was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And
Yeah.
but it's just it is what it is.
It's the story is really cheap.
It was just
really
rushed.
cheap. Yes.
Yeah.
But let's
But,
get right into
anyways.
it and talk about some of these more popular indie films.
Yeah.
Some of them more recent, some of them way back in the day.
Yeah.
The first
We'll
one-
start with. I
Yeah.
was gonna say I'll start with like one of the older ones, and this one was it's a big deal to indie films, and it's changed now. But one of the biggest indie films of the time was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Came out in 1990. So I wasn't even born when it came out, but it's great.
For those of you who
It
don't
came
know, who
out-
haven't listened to any of these, he loves bringing up this movie.
I do love bringing up this movie. It's my favorite movie. But
It's funny.
It did
I
become,
like it. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But the movie came out in 1990. Basically, it was good timing on the movie's part because this is like right at the height of Ninja Turtles when Ninja Turtles was really popular.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, have you watched the show The Toys That Made Us on Netflix?
I did watch that show. That was
Okay.
I liked the Lego one more, but yeah, go
Did
for
you
it.
watch the Ninja Turtles episode?
I did watch the Ninja Turtles episode.
Okay. So you'll know what I'm talking about, but for those who might not have watched it, there's a Ninja Turtles episode where basically they break down the history of the Ninja Turtles, basically how they started out from a comic book and then became this big sensation that they are now to where they're on Nickelodeon and all that. But basically when this movie came out in 1990, this was a time when Ninja Turtle toys were like the number one selling toy in the country. Like they couldn't keep these toys on the shelves. They were selling out the
Yeah.
moment they would put them on shelves, basically. That's how popular Ninja Turtles were. And this is coming from a company that basically just guys that started writing comic books and had no like backing development. They just started selling them on their own and then got picked up by a toy production company. Like one of the smaller ones that had not even made like big toys or anything. Like so almost everything with the Ninja Turtles was kind of independent in a way.
Yeah.
But when the movie came out, it was a big hit. It's a great movie. It was number one. It was the highest grossing independent film in America at that time, and they had like a 25 million, or no, they had like a 13 million budget, and opening weekend they made 25 million,
Dang.
which is the uh-huh.
Yeah. That's
And then eventually in North America they made 135 million, and then 66 million domestically. So they brought in a lot of amount of money, and they had that spot for 9 years until Blair Witch came out. So
ugh, I hate Blair
um,
Witch. Those
so
movies
so
are cheap.
I don't like those movies either. So I bring that movie up, one because I like to talk about it, but also because like it does have a big impact in the history of movies and independent films as well.
Correct.
So
Cricket.
and Jim Henson.
No one understands cricket. You have to know
gotta
what a
know what
crumpet
crumpet-
is.
And there were some like really other like big parts of the movie. Like one of the bigger names of the movie they got was Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
Yep.
Which he's the guy that does all the puppets for Star Wars. I think he does them for Sesame Street. I think he does it for them as
Yep.
well.
The Muppets.
The Muppets. And this was the last project that he did before his death. So.
Really, I didn't know that little part.
Yep.
Well, he went
Yep.
all out. That's for sure.
Yeah, he did.
Rest
And
in
then,
peace,
yeah,
Jim.
as you know, as a lot of people know, this movie then spawned two more movies that. The second one was pretty successful. The third one, people don't talk about.
Yeah. We don't talk
So,
about it.
Yeah. So now we can go on to the next one.
Yep. The
Which-
next
what do you
one.
have?
What I've got here is Marriage Story, starring Scarlett Johansson. It's
Yeah, it's a recent one.
Yeah, it came out last year. It was nominated for Best Picture. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, but I'm pulling it up here on my computer to see who the director was. It's got 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, if you don't know anything about Rotten Tomatoes, that is a lot. Okay, that is a lot of money. Or money. Oh my gosh, that's a good
Yeah.
score. My brain. I've got quarantine brain. That's what I've got right now. I can't think straight, but it's okay. It was written and directed by Noah Baumbach. I hope I'm saying the name right. He both directed it and he wrote the screenplay for it. That's pretty big. That's literally how indie films work. Is a guy or girl, they go in, they find a story that they come up with a story they really like, and then they achieve it with their own money and all that. And
Yeah.
I personally really like this film. I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was good. They also got good actors in it too. I mean, Scarlett Johansson, and then gosh, I want to say Adam Driver.
Adam Driver.
I know his real name, not Kylo Ren. And I think he's a pretty good actor too.
He is. He really
Even
crushed
though
it in
people
this role.
I know people make fun of him for his whole Kylo Ren bit, but I actually really think he's a good actor. I love him in SNL. I've watched him in some other movies that I can't think of the name of right now, and I thought he did a very good job in those movies as well. So
Yeah.
he's a stand-up guy. I like him.
Yep, he is.
I could see him being in a lot more stuff.
Now, this being a Netflix movie, it didn't really show up in theaters that much. It was.
But then again, what is these days?
That's right. That's true. It had a budget of $18 million, but it said right here that at the box office they made 2.3. So it didn't really make anything. But then again, it's a Netflix movie, so it's not supposed to make money at the box office.
Netflix makes their money kind of just by your subscriptions and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Yeah, they don't really make money out of watches like YouTube.
yeah, I'm not sure how it works as far as Netflix buying out like the con because it's a Netflix original movie, but I think it was produced by Netflix actually.
Okay.
Like they are the producers of the movie basically, so it's their own movie. Um, so yeah, since it's not like in theaters, I don't know how they make money off of it,
Right.
but it's got to be just by subscriptions, I would
Correct.
imagine.
Yeah. And
So
this is how Netflix gets money is they put an ad out there and they're like, "Hey, we just made this movie here. If you get a subscription, then you can watch that movie." So what they're probably saying is they
yeah,
made $2.3 million of subscriptions. I don't know. That's just my idea.
possibly. Yeah, I have no idea how that works.
Yeah, me neither.
Let's say the digital media is going to be interesting moving forward.
Oh, no doubt.
With especially after this year, with everything going on and like how they're making money. 'Cause I mean, even now it's like Disney has taken basically all their stuff off Netflix. There's NBC is opening up their own streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like how we're measuring numbers is going to be interesting if we're doing it by price line of subscriptions or if they're actually like releasing some sort of physical copy of it maybe. Because I know like when Stranger Things came out, and I'm sure it'll be the case again when it comes out. I think next month it comes out.
Uh-huh.
They always say like Stranger Things is the most watched show on Netflix with like 15 million views or 15 million people watching or something like that.
Yep.
But it's like those people are already subscribed, so that's why I'm not sure how the money thing works there.
Yeah, it's Netflix is complicated. Netflix is very
Yeah,
complicated. Well, what else
I'm
you
sure
got?
somebody know if you're somebody that knows how that kind of industry works. Feel free to message me and let me know because I'd be curious to
Yeah,
see.
post in the
Just know how
comments.
it works and stuff like that. Post in the comments, message me, whatever you need to do. So I'd be interested. I don't, like I said, I don't really know how the money making aspect of digital works, or how they get their numbers and stuff like that.
Right.
So I'd like to know more about that if possible.
Yeah, yeah. What else you got, Trevor? What's one that you found? What's
Well, if we're gonna go with another one that's recent, that was also, I think, I don't know if it won an award or it was Best Feature, but Uncut Gems
Okay.
with Adam Sandler that came out last year. Um, there's Adam Sandler in it, and it's the first Adam Sandler movie in a while where he's not just the same person that he
Right.
always is. But it was produced by a company called A24,
Okay.
and A24 is a popular company that releases indie films, basically. It's A24's highest grossing film, actually, as of last year.
Okay.
Domestically, it got over $50 million.
Okay. So it's not. That's still a lot of money. Like.
Yeah, it is. So it's quite a bit. Its opening weekend, it was like under $1 million, though.
Okay. Yeah. So
Um,
that's not very good.
yeah. But then they made $5.9 million the first day of its wide release. So,
Okay. So for one day,
Mhm.
that's not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um.
It's gotten pretty good reviews. I haven't seen it yet, but they did just drop it on Netflix, so
Oh.
I'll probably
Okay.
watch it when I get a chance. Like I said, it's got Adam Sandler in it, so that's
It's one of his more serious
that
roles.
that's gonna get it's a little bit more serious. I've heard that alone is going to get people to show up to the theater, at least somewhat because people are Adam Sandler fans.
Right. I'm not a big Adam Sandler person, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I've heard it was really good. I think the cover is hilarious because it's just like a picture of Adam Sandler like holding like a gold Furby thing.
Yeah.
And
Adam Sandler, he
I
kind
always
of
thought it
creeps
was a
me out,
comedy.
honestly. He's like the goofy animated version of Nick Cage.
Yeah,
That's what he is to me.
yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
And it made its premiere. Even though it was in the theaters, it made its premiere at the I might say this wrong, but the Telluride Film Festival
Okay.
in August. So that's where the movie was first shown. That's the other sign that you have an indie movie on your hands is when its premiere is at like a festival or something like that.
Correct. Yeah.
And then it screened at the Toronto International Film Festival in September, and then it came out in theaters in the United States in December.
Okay. Sweet. I will
So,
definitely, yeah, definitely check it out. It seems like it's more
yeah.
of an adult movie than a kid movie.
Yes,
Uh,
from what I've heard, like I said, I haven't seen it, so I myself cannot really vouch much, but that's what I've heard.
right. Yeah, I'll be sure to check it out sometime. Another indie film that kind of came up out of nowhere. Uh, one minute it wasn't there, and the next minute it's there. Was Get Out by Jordan
Get
Peele.
out.
Oh my
Oh yeah.
goodness! First of all, let's start off with a little backstory. Jordan Peele uh, started off on Comedy Central, who he was a sketch writer, and he was on Key and Peele with Keegan Michael Key, and they made sketches. It was kind of like Saturday Night Live, uh, but it wasn't. Like it's kind of like its big brother to it, or little brother to it.
Right.
And so
Right.
and then one day he just said, "Hey, I made a horror movie by myself with my production company. Here it is." And then it just kind of blew up. It wasn't a really long movie either. It was like an hour and a half long. It felt kind of short.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but here's
It was
how
a great movie though.
it was, and here's how great it did at the box office. All right, so the budget was $4.5 million. Right, that's a really small budget
Yeah.
for 2017. Okay, and it was shot in like a month. Like they shot it in 28 days. Um, what they made at the box office, guys, was $255 million.
Yeah, it really impacted the theater a lot in the
Yeah,
independent industry.
yeah, it was, and
And also,
they brought in like some, like they kind of pulled a George Lucas, right? He only tends
yeah,
to work with less known actors, and Daniel
yeah,
Kaluuya, yes, Daniel Kaluuya wasn't really that
yeah,
well known. Like he had been in like some smaller roles in a couple films, but then he completely destroyed this role, and I mean that in a good way. He didn't like wreck it or anything. No, he rocked it. He was the entire movie. Like,
oh yeah, he was.
oh my goodness, his role in it was it really does. It's one of these movies that really makes you think, and especially in
Yeah,
like this day and age, I would definitely recommend watching Get Out. Uh,
yeah,
right now it's what's today? It's Blackout Tuesday, I think is what it's called. Yeah. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I would definitely recommend watching Get Out. And it's got
yep,
98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Guys, that is perfection.
yeah. It's awesome, and from there, it's like made Jordan Peele. It's gotten him like more publicity,
Yeah.
and now he's doing a Candyman re- remake of the old Candyman movies,
Yep.
basically,
He did
uh, which is great.
another indie
It just
movie
shows,
called
yeah,
Us. I went and saw that
us.
one
Oh
movie.
yeah,
That one
us. I
actually
forgot about that.
scared
Yeah.
me. Like I never really do watch scary movies in the theater, but this was like the first one that I like went to the theater. I went with a couple buddies of mine from my youth group. We went and watched it. It was like after it had like come out and stuff. Like it had been out for like a month or so, but it was still doing so well in the theaters. So we were just like, "Hey, let's just go watch Us." And we did, and we like couldn't move. We were terrified. Like it was so good. Like that was like probably the first horror movie that I went and saw in theaters. Uh I'm still young, but you know. Uh yeah, so Get Out.
Well, I mean, like, so Get Out's like kind of a horror movie, right?
Right.
And and I could be wrong, but isn't A Quiet Place also an indie film with John
That's a
Krasinski?
really good
I,
question.
th-
I know
I
that
think
he
it
wrote
is.
it. I know that he
Yeah.
directed it. He didn't want to
I
direct it
feel
at
like
first.
Yeah, I feel like it's an indie film, but that just brings like I could be wrong, um, but it could if that's the case. We have this like kind of rise of independent horror movies right now, which is cool. Because I mean, horror films I guess are always kind of independent movies, especially when you think of like Friday the 13th or things like that.
Right.
But still, it's kind of cool. Like it's almost like they're coming back because it's like they kind of died, and then they're coming back now. But one I'm gonna go back to, and I'm only gonna talk about this for a minute because I don't really like the movies that much. I don't have much to say about it. But the Blair Witch Project. That was a huge indie film. Really helped the independent industry and brought a lot to a perspective of camera. Like it brought that whole like somebody filming something throughout the whole movie kind of concept, which got really popular in the 2000s for some reason.
Right, more handheld.
These movies always annoy me. Just I don't like the shaky camera kind of stuff. So the movies always kind of annoy me a little bit, but it did bring that in there with having like a low budget with like basically minimal effects and stuff, because I think the Blair Witch Project spent like $20,000 to make the movie,
Right.
and then they made like over $250 million
That's
when it came out.
that's incredible.
So I mean, yeah, off of like just somebody basically with a camcorder. So obviously that's a huge impact. But one that I wanted to talk about, and this one kind of I think goes unnoticed. I don't see people talk about this one much anymore, but it was popular when it came out. Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay, enlighten.
You seen that one?
I don't think I have, but I'm willing to
Little
listen.
Miss Sunshine. I think it is hilarious. It's a hilarious movie. Basically, it's about this girl that wants to enter like a beauty pageant contest. So she travels with her family like across the country to go to this beauty pageant contest.
Okay.
But then like in the process, like the van breaks down that they're in, and just things happen along the way while they're there. The only person I can even remember that's in the movie is, I almost said Michael Scott.
Oof.
Is Steve Carell, and that was like not. It was like not even when he was famous. Really, he was still kind of. I think he was on the ups at that point and just came off of 40-Year-Old Virgin, but
Okay.
he wasn't really the name he is now.
Gotcha.
Little Miss Sunshine came out, and the film was dropped because there's creative differences between the writer and the studio producer.
Okay.
And so then eventually the studio producer just bought $400,000 for the rights.
Interesting.
And then he paid $8 million into production on the movie, which is pretty much a huge gamble.
That is. Yeah, that's huge.
Especially for someone who was a first-time writer, and then a bunch of actors that no one's even heard about. And then they ended up screening the movie at the Sundance Festival.
Okay.
And Fox Searchlight bought the film for $10.5 million. And then when it came out, it was the highest grossing film for weeks.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, it was successful when it came out, but it was one of those movies that kind of has a story to it, where it was like, is this movie happening? No, it's not. Yes, we're bringing it back. I'm gonna spend a lot of money onto it, take a huge risk, and then it ended up paying off for him really well.
Gotcha.
So, new cast, first time writer. So you think about it, it's like this movie probably honestly should have failed, but
It didn't. It's still there.
he just really believed in the script and the story, and it worked out for him.
Huh. Interesting. I
Yeah.
definitely want to check it out now. When did it come out?
Yeah, it's hilarious. I'm not sure when it came out. It came out probably early 2000s. 2006 is when it came out.
Okay. Interesting. Well, another.
I think it's got Bryan Cranston in it too.
Ooh.
Yeah, at some
I
point.
love Bryan Cranston.
So those are like really the only two. Like I'm looking at the cast now, and like the only people that I even know from this list are Steve Carell and Bryan Cranston.
Guys, you have no idea. Like
Everybody else, I'm like, I have no idea.
you
who they
have
are.
no idea how much I love Bryan Cranston. Okay, like his role
yeah, Bryan Cranston
in
is
Breaking
great.
Bad alone. All right.
Yeah, and this is before Breaking Bad too.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I remember he was.
I believe so.
Did you know? Okay, here's what I didn't know. Bryan Cranston directed an episode of The Office. It was the van
Oh, did
trip.
he really?
It was the one where they all went on the
Okay.
van to go get pies
Oh,
in like season 8.
Oh, okay. So Breaking Bad came out in 2008.
Yeah. Yep. So it was like
That's interesting.
right before.
Well, did you know that Bryan Cranston played Zordon in the new Power Rangers movie?
I do remember hearing that. Yes. I did not like the movie though.
Yeah, so Yeah, the movie was all right. But he played Zordon, but he played Zordon in the Power Rangers movie because the original Power Rangers, there's a character's name who is Billy Cranston, who is named after Cranston
Interesting.
from the Power Rangers because they were basically a fan of his. So they named a character after Bryan Cranston.
That's really cool.
They named a character named Billy Cranston, and then it goes full circle, and he plays Zordon.
That's so cool.
In the Power Rangers movie.
I'm really impressed. That's really cool.
Yeah. So he's had such a weird career because he's like not.
Yeah,
He's
been
kind of a bigger name
everywhere.
now, but it's like he's been around even since the '90s, and it was like Malcolm in the Middle, but then it's like Billy Cranston was named after him and for Power Rangers, and then Breaking Bad kind of shot him up for a few years there. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't seen him in a while, but
Greatest TV show of all time, right next to the Andy Griffith
yes,
Show,
definitely best drama on TV.
without a shadow of a doubt. Another one of my favorite indie films of all time. It's called Whiplash. It's about this jazz drummer who's trying to make it. Like, he's been going to school and everything, and his teacher, who's played by J.K. Simmons, is like super abusive, and like just like all over the place with him. And I was reading about it actually, and it's written and directed by Damien Chazelle. Okay, he's just an independent guy. He really does his own stuff. It started off as a 18-minute short film. The screenplay was 15 pages long, right? So super short, super simple. And it premiered at the 2013 Sundance Film Festival. Okay, so that's a pretty big film festival, right? It was only 18 minutes, and it still had J.K. Simmons, right? But it had like totally different actors and everything. And so I'm trying to find who picked it up. But some, my brain is farting. I'm recovering really quick. Okay.
That's okay.
So, yeah, it was picked up. It got a lot of really good. It got a good critical response, right? And so, Stage 6 Films, I think, it was a Sony company, right? So they picked the film up. They reshot a lot of the scenes, and they put Miles Teller in there. Now, Miles Teller is already like a really good drummer. Now, another little fact that's really interesting, that I find interesting at least, is jazz drumming is the most difficult field of drumming out there. Like, forget heavy metal.
What about snake jazz?
Forget heavy metal. Forget rock and roll. Jazz drumming is the most difficult. Jazz. You like jazz? You like jazz?
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
Did you just quote a B movie?
Yeah, we did. It won a few Oscars too. At the 87th Academy Awards, it won Best Film Editing, Best Sound Mixing, Best Supporting Actor for Simmons. It was also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Picture. So that's really big. And I just like the film. Like, I just like the symbolism that's used in the film. Like, I could probably go on and on talking about it, but I'm not going to. I'll probably do a separate episode. Just talk about it on Facebook or something for hours on end. Yeah, Whiplash. It was written and directed by Damien Chazelle. It was at first just an 18-minute short film, and then they were like, wow, this could be really good. And then they released it as a big movie, and it made a lot of money. The budget was only $3.3 million, but it grossed $49 million. Now, granted, that's not huge, but, I mean, think about Star Wars, too. Like, it was only in a select amount of theaters. And this one only went to 500 screens. So that's probably like 50 different states, right? So it was a relatively small one, but it still won a few Oscars, and it's still an amazing film. Yep. We're getting a little close on time here, so why don't we pick one more?
Yeah, so... Oh, yeah, one more, which we have to talk about this one, because it's only the biggest movie ever.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Biggest movie, not really, but Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes,
That's
Napoleon
we
Dynamite.
have to talk about
One
it.
of the greatest
Like this
comedies
movie,
of all time.
yeah. I mean, this movie when it came out, like I feel like now people don't really talk about it as much.
Right. Yeah, which is a true shame.
But it's one of those things where it's like if I say a Napoleon Dynamite quote, "Don't be jealous. I've been chatting along with babes all day," and people would know what I'm referencing.
Right.
Like that's how big this movie is. I remember when this movie came out. I was with my friends Thomas and Tyler, and I was at their house, and they're the ones that told me about this movie called Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay.
And so we watched it one day, and I was like, maybe this came out in 2004, so I was like 12. No, I was 11 years old when this movie came out.
Wow, starting off young.
Yeah. So my friends were like telling me about this movie, and it could have even been like the summer after or something like that. But that's when the movie came out, so I'm just going by when the movie came out. And it's just like over the summer one day, and we're just like they started talking about it, and I'm like sure. So we watched it, and then like after that, like that summer, I just remember everybody talking about Napoleon Dynamite, just like quoting it. Like everybody's just like, gosh, freaking idiot. I need to go get some tater tots.
Hey, Napoleon, you got any tots?
Oh, it was great.
Put 'em in.
But this movie is a great film because this movie
It's
is
just goofy.
almost
Even when it's not
had-
trying to be.
yeah, it's goofy.
Like it's
Yeah, but this movie is great because it had not one actor in it was a known actor.
right. Everybody was just
Like,
kind of like
if you
friends of the director.
yeah, everybody was just kind of who is this guy?
Right.
And John Heater, I think that's how you pronounce his name, John Heater. He got paid $1,000
That's
to be Napoleon Dynamite.
That's crazy.
For this 90-minute movie. He got paid $1,000.
I wonder what he used
And
with that
then-
$1,000.
I know.
I'm trying to think about that like a lot.
Like,
Like, did he just buy food? Did he pay his rent? What did he do?
If we ever get John Heater on this show, that's what
Oh,
we'll ask
he
him.
needs to be a guest. He needs to be a guest on the show where we just talk about the film.
I'll reach out to him and offer him $1,000.
I'll reach out to. We'll use all of our ad revenue.
I'll offer him $100. That's about the best I could do. And you have to buy your own plane ticket.
Yeah,
out here.
yeah. Find your own housing. Well, he can stay at my house. We can share bunk
Yeah,
beds.
Yeah, you can hang out with me.
He
out
can
here.
sleep on my couch. I don't. But
yeah.
Napoleon Dynamite has a lot of significance to me as well. When I was in youth group, okay, at my church, I had probably just turned 14 years old. And my youth minister, who had been at my church for like 30 years, he was getting ready to leave. He had found another church. And he was like, hey, if you guys haven't seen this movie, you need to watch this movie with me. So I was like, oh, okay, it looks stupid. And it was just like, just out of the blue. We were just like, hey, let's just watch Napoleon Dynamite. We decided to watch it on a Wednesday night. And then on Friday night, we went out to our church and we watched it. And I could not stop laughing, guys. Like, for real. I bought it on Blu-ray. I don't know if I still have it on Blu-ray, but
I don't know if I have it on Blu-ray. I think we have it, though.
That summer.
I say we, I mean my wife and I.
That summer, I watched that movie probably every day. And I kept on texting my youth minister. I was like, dude, like, seriously, thank you for showing me this movie. And, like, if he's still listening, Craig, I love you. Thank you for showing me this movie. It's amazing.
But yeah, this movie came out in 2004. Produced by Jeremy Kuhn, Chris Wyatt, Sean Cavell, and Jory White Sweets. I'm probably gonna
butcher it. Yeah.
Butcher some names. It was written by Jared and Jerusha Hess and directed by Jared Hess.
There you go. It's seriously one of the greatest comedies of all time. And even when it's not trying to be, like, it's got some really deep stuff in it too. Like some really deep themes.
Well, this film, when it came out, it started at the Sundance Film Festival.
Correct.
Just like Little Miss Sunshine, as I mentioned earlier. So moral of the story is, if you are an independent filmmaker and you want your movie to be bought and become
Go
big,
to the Sundance Film Festival.
Get it at the Sundance Film Festival. You might get
Facts.
lucky. because that also got bought by Fox Pictures, and then it ended up they with MTV and Paramount Pictures for the release. So I mean, this is like a big team effort to get this movie
Right.
out. Basically, it was like a roughly around a $400,000 budget,
Okay.
which was a very tight $400,000 budget too.
Yeah.
Like no room to go over. And then they made 46 million worldwide. So
It's crazy.
I mean, that's quite a profit. John Hader did eventually go over and renegotiate his contract after the
I
movie
sure
got
hope
popular,
so.
which I don't blame him. And he did get compensation and a cut of the profits from
That's
it.
good.
For after the $1,000.
Yeah, $1,000, like just to
Yeah.
show. He probably used that money for gas money to show up on set every day.
He probably did. I mean, like when you think about it, it's like $1,000, and that's usually how it goes. Like, cause like I said, when I worked on a couple of movies, one movie I got paid for.
Okay.
And yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we can give you $100 a day, basically, or like $100 a week to do it on. And it's basically exactly what it was, because this is out in Flint. I was living in Rochester at the time, so I drove out to Flint. I would film and do my little thing, and then basically like $100. They did provide food, so I didn't buy any
Right.
food. So my $100 was basically gas
To get there.
and then I had like gas to get there, and then I had like maybe $30 I pocketed.
What did you use
So
that
it's like,
$30 for?
you know,
That's
like-
my.
Probably
Yeah.
food.
Oh my gosh! What movie? What movie was it that you were? Was it just like a?
It was like a Star Wars. It was like a Star Wars indie film.
Okay. And in Flint. Wait
I'll have
a minute.
to in Flint. Yeah, I'll have to send it to you.
Yes,
send the link
please.
to you.
That sounds amazing.
That was the only one that I've worked on that I've gotten paid for.
Okay.
And then, like I said, I've done some other ones. Like I did that one zombie film with Evil Genius
Yep.
Entertainment. I'll give them a
Yep.
shout out. That was fun. I'm still hoping to help them out with stuff that they're filming in the future, but they do like horror movies, like independent horror
Right.
movies, and they do a really good job. They're really
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
indie films, we love them.
We really do. Yes. And we're going to be working on one of our
Uh,
own this summer, and it's
We're working on
It's
one of our
super
own. If
exciting.
you want to watch it,
yeah.
it's super exciting. But yeah, indie films, love them. They help the industry a lot,
Yeah.
and sometimes tell Hollywood to shove it in their
Yes.
from time to time.
Yes. And then there are indie movies that completely bomb and are horrible.
Oh yeah, and then there's indie movies that
The
completely
Room.
bomb, which most
The
of them
Room,
do.
guys.
But
We don't have time to talk about The
Room.
Room, but we're just going to say it right
Everybody
now.
knows about
We're
The
just
Room.
going to say it's a piece of crap. Okay?
Yeah, don't ever watch The
Never.
Room.
It's horrible. You lose brain cells just
That's
thinking
why it's so
about it.
that's why it's so popular
Yes.
though.
Now,
That's because
The
it's so
Disaster
bad.
Artist, which is based off the making of The Room, I thought was really good.
Yes,
I thought it
that
was not
good.
only really funny but insightful. I thought it was really great.
Yes, it is. Oh yeah, it's
Yes.
great.
But that's all the
So-
time that we have right now, guys.
Yeah, independent films are great.
Yes.
If you want to put your movie up somewhere, I suggest the Sundance Film Festival. There seems to be a lot of luck
Indeed.
there.
And if there are any production
And-
companies that ever listen to this episode, I'm making a movie. I'd like some money. It would pay off. It's a good script. I'll send
Yeah.
it to you. But thanks for
Yeah.
listening, guys. We want to say be sure to check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of us on social
I
media.
will post the links.
Yes, we got links. But thanks again for listening, guys. I'm Matt, and
I'm
we're
Trevor.
Dudes in Films. Hey, guys, it's Matt back real quick. Just want to say I'm just going to be taking a bit of a break from recording for a little bit. I'm going to a summer job that's also in Michigan with me. It's just going to be kind of high demand kind of thing where I've got to invest a lot of time. I probably won't have a lot of time to record. But if I will be on the show, it'll probably be just for a couple of minutes with Trevor, or I'll probably just be over the phone. I probably won't have my equipment with me, but I love you guys. I really do miss you guys. I'm going to miss being on the show for a couple months. Probably not too long. I'll make an appearance here and there, but that's why I'm going to be absent for a little while. But I love you guys. I can't wait to see you again. Peace.